Talk than you could shake a stick at. This is News Talk 1440 Keys, KEYS, Corpus Christi.
Some folks are born made to wave the flag, ooh, they're red, white, and blue.
6.5 minutes after the hour, 5 o'clock here on News Talk 1440 Keys. I'm Bob Jones. Sitting in with me, in effect, is Jenny Trejo. And my guest appears to be a little bit late getting to the studio. We're going to talk about, we'll go back and finish up on that Watergate stuff until he arrives. But he has a website called Tejano Pride. I think he got upset at me a little bit earlier because I said Rudy Peña, and he said told my producer I should say Rudytejano Peña. So I think that's, and it's, you know, and he's got a little thing here, Jenny. Because you talked about Tejanos being all over the world.
They are.
He wrote down, we are, on his website, we are proud, patriotic United States citizens who hold proper respect and pride in ourselves. We are Texas-born and raised, a unique citizen, traditionally bold, aggressive, and individualistic with a strong sense of duty, unparalleled loyalty, and honor. For Tejanos who served in the Texas Revolution of 1836 and subsequently the armed forces of the United States, the term for God and country signified then and continues to signify our undisputed commitment to carry out the ultimate sacrifice in pursuit of our country's defense and security. Historical facts, he writes, monuments and other honors bear witness to our courage in the face of ultimate danger and powerful odds. Throughout history, Tejanos in the United States Armed Forces have unselfishly sacrificed their lives so the rest of us could continue the battle and ultimately achieve the final victory to preserve our nation's freedom for all United States citizens. It gives me the greatest sense of pride and indescribable honor to have served my country and joined the ranks of such gallant men and women. Pride runs deep around these parts. It always has and always will. So it goes without saying that in many of our humble homes, you'll often find the United States and Texas flags beside the portrait of a proud Tejano or Tejana in the distinguished service dress uniform representing the military branch they proudly serve. Yes, without a doubt, I am extremely proud of my Spanish, Indigene, and Tejano ancestry. Indigene. Not familiar with that word. I-N-D-I-G-E-N-E. Moreover, my body and soul burst with patriotic United States Tejano pride. For some of us, our ability and command of both the English and Spanish language surely demonstrate the capacity, ability, and potential of a United States-born citizen with an educational background and capabilities second to none. Tejanos are citizens who have maintained close ties and identify with our original Tejas/Texas roots and traditions. We are an exceptional, unique, and diverse United States citizen. Citizens who introduce their customs and traditions, enhancing a true patriotic spirit and goodwill to all. I wholeheartedly acknowledge and express my utmost respect to those who claim their undisputed pride as Hispanic, Mexican, Latino, Chicano, or Mexican-American. However, Tejanos and Tejanas must pursue their identity by acknowledging and recognizing that our pride for our ancestral heritage is something we hold dear to our hearts, which no one can take away. More importantly, we owe it to ourselves and future generations to pursue and preserve our Texas Tejano pride and dignity. We must never sanction or tolerate the denial of this precious heritage. Throughout the world, the United States, and particularly in Texas, there are legions of Tejanos and Tejanas who are or may be direct descendants of the original native Texans. Tejanos have earned and deserve the respect, privilege, and proper identity other Texas-born citizens enjoy. I am proud of my origin and extremely proud to be a patriotic United States Tejano. We are Tejanos by the grace of God and mostly bilingual by ability and choice. God bless Texas. Vivan los Tejanos y Tejanas. Por Dios nuestra gente y querida patria. Viva Tejas y los Estados Unidos. Rudytejano Peña. Now, what it sounds like is, and this is how it started, Jenny. I was talking about people who died. And I was talking about within those numbers. I was given the numbers of those who died in the Gulf War and the Vietnam War. I mean, the Gulf War, 147 battle deaths. Vietnam, 47,410 battle deaths. There were other deaths, in theater. World War II, 291,557 battle deaths. You know what I'm saying? World War I, 53,402 battle deaths, etc. Spanish-American War, Civil War, Mexican War. And I was explaining that there was a vast number of immigrants, many of whom were considered minorities, and that minorities in America, whoever was the latest to come to this country, Jenny, was relegated to the poorest sections of town, given the worst jobs to perform, treated to the most indifferent and low-class status afforded a human being, and added that chattel slavery, the plight of not even being considered a person, was the most horrible situation of this reality of American life. But I went on to say that even the slave, when given the opportunity, chose to put on the uniform and fight to preserve the lofty ideals and all of our Declaration of Independence, and that they made this sacrifice and very often volunteered to sacrifice their blood and, if necessary, their life, that the poor, downtrodden, abused, neglected souls of the world who found themselves in America knew that although they themselves did not realize the full freedom and equality under God, there was an opportunity for their children, their children's children, to rise above their lowly station and actually become. So, and when I talked about some of this, I mentioned that I was paying tribute to those who gave the ultimate sacrifice, so that all of us, I said black, white, brown, male, female, boy, girl, rich or poor, Irish, Italian, German, African, Mexican, Spanish, Japanese, Korean descent, we are, as they were, Americans, and they fought as Americans, and we honor those who died as Americans. He said I should have had Tejanos in there. And that's how the conversation started, and the discussion started with him and I.
Well, I hope he does call, and I hope that
well, he's supposed to be here at the studio, so...
Well, I hope that he gets there or that he calls, because he does have a lot to add to the...
Yes, in fact, I think he's just arrived.
Of culture. Great, I'm glad.
Is he here, Gio? Okay, well, what I'm going to do, Jenny, he is here. And that's how the discussion began. And he sent me to his website, and I began to do research. And as you said, and I'm not sure... Because I've got, I'm mixed feelings. I understand, because I understand people talk about the history of blacks and what they contributed, and the Chinese talk about the railroad and all. But carving out this niche, which seemed to be of Mexican or Latino, whatever, who actually lived in Texas when it was formed, the Republic, or before the Republic.
You see, he's answering that question. The problem that you're having in deciding whether to call people Mexican or Latino or whatever is what he's answering. And he's saying the exact same thing that my grandparents said and that people before them have said about who we are. And I've just gone through and I'm skimming through his webpage, and I can tell you that, he is a Tejano historian. He's saying exactly what my relatives and my elders have said to me all along. And he's doing a great service to what they said in putting it down in a webpage and having this discussion to help us define who we are.
All right, so what we're going to do is, Gio, can we take our break a little bit early so that I can come back? And in fact, he's over there giving Gio a history lesson right now.
Yeah, so get it straight, man.
If you sit next to him, you're going to get a history lesson. Don't. That's right,
Rudytejano Peña. He's a Tejano historian. Let's give him his props, because I believe he is. If he's taken down and written down the information that I'm seeing, I'm interested in hearing what else he has to say.
Okay, well, stay on the line, Jenny, with us, and we're going to bring him on. We invite your calls in the listening audience, 560-5397-560-KEYS. If you're driving, drive to stay alive. Singular Wireless and Sprint PCS at the pound button 1440. In the background, we're showcasing Ruben Limas. And it's 20 minutes after the hour of 5 o'clock. I'm Bob Jones. You've tuned in to Common Sense here on News Talk 1440 Keys. The way to get in, 560-5397-560-KEYS. I'm on with Jenny Trejo and my guest in the studio, Rudytejano Peña. And let me just tell you, Mr. Rudytejano Peña was born and raised in Laredo, Texas, and after completing a successful 25-year military career, retired from the U.S. Navy. And he looks good in his uniform. He can still fit his, unlike me, and he looked good in it. Today, he is a devoted and dedicated advocate for the acknowledgement and recognition of United States Tejano / Texan distinguished identity, culture, and heritage. Currently, legions of original Tejano descendants reside in Texas. Descendants of Tejanos may also be found in the United States and around the globe. Historically, United States-born Tejanos may be descendants of early European settlers and indigenous people who populated the territory during the early 1600s. Theoretically, it's from combinations of those early Tejas diverse cultures, Tejanos and Tejanas evolved, and developed. Traditionally, combinations of Spaniards, now you're giving me an answer now. I should have just read all of this, and local indigenous people are the most prevalent. It's not unusual to find other European influence in the fancy Tejano appearance of beautiful women and handsome men. Aren't you the modest one, huh? And I'll go into some more of this historical background, but Mr. Pena invites the entire world to rediscover the truth and give credit to all deserving Tejano and Tejana pioneers. He welcomes and encourages all others who have similar origins and views to support his noble efforts and cause. And his presentations include Tejano contributions to the American Revolution, 1776, Battle of Medina, 1813, First Tejanos/Texas short-lived independence, successful struggles from Spain in 1821. Only two native Tejanos, Texans, who signed the Texas Declaration of Independence in March 2nd, 1836. And I can go on and on and on, but I'll let you talk now. And why did you take up this cause?
Well, first of all, let me express my appreciation to you, Bob, and it's been a pleasure having the opportunity to finally get to meet you and talk to you. And when I heard you and I heard the young lady that you have on the line, I feel really, really pleased and feel elated to hear that she appreciates what I'm saying, and the rest of the folks that are also listening. I hope they get the message and try to align and join the efforts that I'm trying to bring on to our Tejanos and Tejanas not only in Corpus Christi or the state of Texas, but the entire United States and the world. And because it's something that because I used to hear the mention of Mexican and Mexican American, and I never really felt comfortable with the title. It
became equivalent of a generalization.
Well, yeah, and I'm saying, I'd like to feel the pride that these folks radiate when I meet somebody and they were truly Mexican. They have this pride that they express and show, and you just can't deny that. Yet when I would talk to one of us in my conversations, including myself, I could not relate to that pride. I could not say, well, I'm not from Mexico, but I'm Mexican. And when people ask me the question, what part of Mexico are you from? And I would have to go and explain to them, actually, I'm not from Mexican. Or rather, I'm not from Mexico, therefore, I'm an American of Mexican descent.
That seems to be a problem. It's like for African Americans, they say they came up with we don't want to be called Negro anymore, as Malcolm X says. There's no such place as Negro land, like Italians from Italy and Germans from Germany. There's no Negro, and then they got into this African American, and many minorities or blacks or browns or whatever have never been to Africa. They're so far removed from Africa. They're like 5 generations have lived in this nation, and how do you still call yourself an African? And you don't feel the same sense of connection. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, yes.
Let alone the same sense of pride, because there is a heritage that has been bought and purchased and won, and a history of being here and being here with your roots.
And it's tough when you're being talked about, but yet you're not being identified according to who you truly are.
And so you don't feel included in that discussion.
Exactly.
Because they're not really talking about you.
And then, like, for instance, I had the pleasure to meet the young man out there, and he says, I seen this picture. And I said, where did you see it? He said, I saw it in school. So do you remember what it was called? And he says, do you remember him being identified as a Tejano? And he responded, I don't really remember that. And I says, well, there it is. When you see that, when you see me, what do you see me? What do you see? You're seeing an Hispanic, or you're seeing a Mexican, but you don't see a Tejano. So immediately the association with us, with brown skin, as you mentioned earlier, is that we must be Mexican. But then here's another group of people that have come to the United States now, and it seems like they don't not like to be called Mexican, so they are now Hispanic, and they are Latinos to distinguish themselves, as. So what happened to the Mexican? What happened to the Mexican American? Now, a Mexican is not going to tell you or identify himself as a Hispanic. He's going to tell you straight up, I'm Mexican.
Right, that's correct.
A Puerto Rican, a Cuban, no. But then when you're getting together as a group to represent yourselves, it's when they start accommodating themselves and saying, we're Latinos or we're Hispanic, and we're going to go together and win. Mm-hmm. But then when the time comes once again to say, well, we won, well, actually, you guys are not really part of us, but you can't even speak Spanish properly. So why don't you just hold on back and wait a second, and then they go on and they. And when I say they, I'm talking about the Hispanic.
It's like a
Latino
sub-status within the so-called Hispanic community.
Yeah, and the Latino leaders, those that are Hispanics, those that are Latinos, they're the ones that are moving on along with their people that have come to the United States. And we're lagging behind. But actually, people are thinking, no, we're part of them.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
My folks, the folks that are not aware that they're Tejanos, are continuing to lagging and staying behind and saying we're part of them, and we're not part of them. They don't recognize us, but they're telling us we're part of them.
Jenny, you following this? Jenny, are you there? Did I pull her up? Hello, Jen?
Can you hear me?
Okay, got you now.
Okay. Listen, I grew up in a house, with my grandmother and my grandfather. My grandfather was from Mexico. He moved over from Mier into San Diego. But my grandmother would always tell me, we didn't all come to Texas. Texas kind of landed on us. America landed on us. And so I was instilled with that, the same type of thing that you're talking about. But, even, and I always, I've said it before on Bob's show, when I go looking for my quote-unquote motherland, it's got to be Benavides, Texas, because that's where we came from, or San Diego, but I'm not really clear from looking at what I've seen on your webpage and from listening to what you just said. I'm not clear about what the objective is in wanting to promote the Tejano message. I understand it. I grew up with it. I wholeheartedly agree with you. But I'd like to hear you tell us, what it is, why it's important that the United States and other citizens recognize who we are under the name Tejano.
Well, Jenny, let me interject, because I'm going to keep him on until the top of the hour. This is too important to treat with 15, 20, 30 minutes. But what I hear him saying right within the framework of what we would call Hispanic, that there are Latinos, people that consider themselves from Latin America, I guess. I'm not sure whether Chicano considers themselves. I know there's Puerto Ricanos. I know there's Cubans. I mean, and the Cubans are different. And on the East Coast of some of the East Coast cities, the Cubans live on areas that they call Gold Coast because they're merchants and businessmen and all. And a lot of the Puerto Ricans live in the barrio and, in substandard housing. But there are people who would label them all Hispanic. Or give them that label. And he was saying that in the political movement, from what I understand, of these various cultures, or Latin American or South American, come on, Spanish, that's European, Spain. The whole thing from back there. But in all these cultures, Tejanos are people who have been in this country for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And they live here and they work here and they develop it, and they're a blend of a lot of cultures, but they are a group of people who carved out, who made, who are part of here, but they don't fit because nobody acknowledges that they're there, is what I hear him saying. And even in the political struggle among those we would call Hispanics, they're expected to vote and go along for Hispanic power, but when the power is divided and cut, the Tejanos are kind of pushed to the side because they've been here so long, they speak English. They've been here so long, they have a blend of culture. They're not new immigrants. They're not second generation. They go further than that, and he thinks that there are significant numbers, and it's important. Am I?
You're on key right there. You're hitting the nail right on the center of the top of the head.
And if within the Hispanic community, then even identified and recognized and appreciated and understood, what are they in the larger culture? Even more of a disappearing act. We're going to talk about that and more, and Tejano pride with Rudytejano Peña. We're going to talk about Texas's original Texans. That and more when we get back. You listen to Common Sense on News Talk 1440 Keys. It's 5:30. Stay with us. We'll be right back. 25 minutes before the hour of 6 o'clock. You're listening to Common Sense here in News Talk 1440 Keys. I'm Bob Jones. My guest in the studio, Rudytejano Peña and Jenny Trejo. Jenny, are you there? Did I get you, Jenny? Did I pull you up or what?
You know, with all the rain we've been getting lately, it's...
Okay, let's go with Jenny here.
Texas State Bird's going to be out. I'm not talking about the...
Okay, you there?
Yeah, I'm there.
Great.
Okay, Jenny, just restate your question briefly, and I'm going to let Rudy answer you.
Well, Rudy, the question that I'd have for you is, I am a Tejana, okay? I knew from growing up with my grandparents that, that we'd been here for many, many generations, that we, didn't necessarily come from only Mexican people. My grandmother let us know that we had been influenced genetically by the Spanish and by the Indigenous, just the way you say, and by all other kinds of things. And I grew up knowing all that, and I just wanted to ask you, tell me, why is it important that I embrace the Tejano label, the Tejana label, instead of Mexican American?
Let me answer by giving you an example of what I heard maybe 2 months ago or maybe a month ago. Eva Longoria, she's one of our local Tejano girls. Mm-hmm. Did you hear what she said on her interview? And she said, more or less, because I didn't even hear it, it was passed on to me, because I have connections all around the United States now because of what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. And they said, Rudy, did you hear what Eva Longoria, the girl, she's from your city, Rudy, did you hear what she said? I said, no, what? And I said, but I'm proud, she represents us. She said she believes that she came from the background of the Aztecs, and she was an Aztec princess. But the thing that when we heard what she said, I says, man, I wonder if Rudy heard this. She said she's from Corpus and she's from Texas. But when she identifies herself, she says she's Mexican and proud of it. Now, I want, when people see us in the state of Texas, in Mexico, in Europe, anywhere, when they see us, they say, are you Tejano? Are you a Tejana? I don't want to be identified or be shown that, well, here's a Mexican or here's an Hispanic or here's a Latino. No one had, I just asked Bob a few minutes ago a question, when did you ever hear or read anything like this before? And he says, never. I hear something, I see something, but I never seen it.
Or they use the word Tejas from time to time in some of the old stuff and all, but Tejas and Tejano, it's natural that a Tejano would stem from Tejas, but nobody talks about that.
And when I talk to folks, like for instance, and I really appreciate your comments at the beginning of the show when you said, I identify with what this man is saying because that's what I feel. But like I emailed this guy that emailed me last night. He says, well, Rudy, you never cease to amaze me. Of course, I'm Tejano, and more so. And I wrote back to him. I says, look, anybody can identify themselves and call themselves a Tejano. But do you actually, when somebody asks you what you are, or do you tell them with pride that you're a Tejano? How many times have you ever heard anyone tell you with pride that they're Tejanos? I never have. Other than myself, I never.
Can I ask a question? But Jenny, am I following you correct? It would seem on the surface, and I think I'm looking at it I try to look at it from different perspectives, okay? Not necessarily my own, but on the surface, it looks like you're carving out another group which would further divide the quote-unquote Hispanic community. Is that what you're seeing, Jenny?
It's not, no.
No?
I grew up knowing that I was, Tejana, although I didn't know that word. Okay? I knew what's on this webpage leaps off of the webpage and right on to me, and I affiliate myself with this, with what he's saying, because that's what, I was educated, at home, knowing this stuff, although he's gone through and he's put it all on one page. My grandparents might have said a little bit here, a little bit there, and let me know you need to be proud of the fact that that you are, you're an American, you're from here, from the United States, and Texas, you're from Texas, and there's pride in that and everything. And then there was the fact that we had all these cultural things that went on too. And as a person who probably up until we're having this conversation, and from here on in, we'll probably say I am Tejana. I will say that I'm Tejana rather than say I'm Mexican-American. I always felt kind of like I was inferior to the word Mexican-American because I haven't had enough Mexican influence in me from Mexico to be really good enough to say, I'm from over there, I understand everything about you. I don't understand what it's like to be a Mexican. I'm not Mexican. I am Tejana.
Thank you. You have no idea what you just said, how it hits my heart.
But you just straightened me out. This webpage just straightened me out. And it's important for me to let you know that everything that my grandparents said makes sense, and I'm a person of words. And all the words that they gave me, just all the puzzle pieces just came together and created a picture for me right there. What they were telling me was to be proud of the fact that, they sacrificed, they worked, they toiled. My grandfather left Mexico to come be here, and he married my grandmother, and they had this life. And we're not. We as a family, as a culture, we are Tejana. We are Tejano.
So what's the crossover between Mexican but what I understood the website to say is that it's a mixture of a lot. Europeans, the Germans that came over, but they didn't mix with Latins, and they carved out Texas, and therefore they carved out the Republic and those things. But what I'm looking for is that where's the bridge? Is Tejano a bridge between Mexican or Latin and American, or is it still we all locked into the surname Italian American, German American? I mean, if we're going to be in those surnames, which I believe we are, African American, German American, Cuban American, Mexican American, then you've got to say Tejano American.
Rudy and Bob, let me ask you this question real quickly, Rudy. Let me make sure that I'm reading you correctly, okay? Let me give you an opportunity to get a bird's eye view from somebody else that's reading your stuff and let you know where my heart looks at what you're saying. What you're saying is that the difference between a Mexican and a Tejano is patriotism to the country that they're going to hold allegiance to.
That's very, very important in there, yes.
Yeah, and my grandparents, growing up, tell me that, that when I learned the Pledge of Allegiance, that it meant something. I pledge allegiance to the United States of America. And when I went home, the very first time that I learned that, I saw it all over their faces, and it meant something to me, and it meant something to them.
It's important that I interject this because I've heard the expression that Bob just mentioned about this American being American and American this and American that. I don't know how often you have been across into Mexico.
Yeah.
Okay, but I was born in Laredo, Texas, so I was born on the border. Okay, and I used to go into Mexico. And when we were coming back from Mexico, the question that we were posed was, are you a U.S. citizen? A lot of people got the question confused and turned around and says, are you an American citizen? That's not the question we're being questioned.
That's true.
But where is this stemming from? Because we have been conditioned. That's another state of condition that we're in right now. And the other thing, Ms. Trejo, is when the people in Mexico, the press, the radio, the TV, when they talk about us and reference us, they use the term estadounidenses.
Yeah.
Estadounidenses. They rarely use the Mexican-American term or Americans.
Where are you a citizen of? What's your nationality, your citizenship?
Exactly. So here's another of my pet peeves when I tell, we are not Americans, ladies and gentlemen. We are United Statesians. But when I hear the President of the United States and all our leaders and the morning news and everybody in the world addressing us and identifying us as if we were the country of America citizens, that's one thing that that's another one that I'm trying to bring an awareness of. And it has nothing to do with, it has a lot to do with patriotism, by the way, because I'm very proud to have served my country, the United States, not America. I served the United States. My brother served and is a Purple Heart recipient for the United States, not the country.
But technically, it's still the United States of America.
But Rudy, you're looking at a constitutional republic distinction between each state being a sovereign and then the United States being the whole. But you're saying that, you're Texan as a part of the United States.
Exactly. We're Tejanos and we're part of the United States. Exactly. But Bob, the point that I'm stressing is this republic, this Constitution is the Constitution of the United States. Now, if I to take a little further, for instance, all the people in Mexico, they are Mexican Americans. All of them. They were born in this North American continent.
Right.
Yeah.
All the people in Canada are Americans. All of them. But it seems like we have taken that, and I say we, the United States.
Yeah, but that's a difficult battle, just like race is a battle. I mean, there's only one race, a human race, but there's different ethnicities, different nationalities.
Well,
but you're not going to argue that because you hear the president and probably people talk about race. When they use the word race, they act like there's some subdivision of the human family, which there are not. But and you're saying the same thing with this nationalistic thing. It's a United States citizen, a citizen of the United States. But on the other hand, they're not going to change those terminologies.
Well, they're not going to change them because we're saying we're so used to using those terms, and even though you're correct, but we're not going to change. That's the way it's been, and that's the problem right there that I see, that we need to start. See, in my writings, I use United Statesian. You hardly find the word American in there because I'm trying to make a point. I'm not here to push anything, but I'm trying to bring an awareness, because it's important and significant that we identify accordingly and be proud of our country, not the whole continent of the United of America. Mm-hmm. So, like when I hear when the president says Americans die in Iraq, which Americans? The Canadians, the Mexicans, which?
Yeah, but most people, automatically identify. But come on, groups all over steal the language, change the language. Like gay means happy, but not now.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
So, and basically, what I'm trying to make a connection here is that's what happened to us. We say we're Mexicanos, and then they ask us, well, what part of Mexico are you from, amigo? And their response is, oh, no, I'm not from Mexico. But I thought you said, well, I'm Mexican-American. And then when the question is posed, well, when did you become a U.S. citizen? And that is the time when you get upset.
Yes.
And you say, I was born here. What's your problem, amigo?
That's right. You became immigrant. You became naturalized. I was born here.
But see, but this is a Tejano. This is a Tejano problem. And you say, and then they get upset. And I said, well, you're the one that gave me those questions. I mean, I'm the one that gave you the questions. You gave me the answers. And now you're getting upset because you're saying that I'm asking you or questioning when did you become a U.S. citizen. But you told me you were born here, but yet you said you were Mexican first, and then you said you were Mexican-American.
Okay, all right. You follow him, Jen?
I follow. I got another question. Are we going to take a break real quick?
Yeah, we're going to take a quick break. You're going to hold that question? You're going to say it quick, and we'll have him answer when we come back.
Great. My question is, in your mind, and I mean, you're a thinking man, I really appreciate that, and in your mind and the way that you see things from your viewpoint, do Tejanos have a responsibility to advance themselves or to wait on the group?
Wow. Hold on. Hold that thought. Jenny Trejo, hang on, lady. I'm Bob Jones. You're listening to Common Sense on News Talk 1440 Keys. My guest, Jenny Trejo and Rudytejano Peña. This is an important discussion, an important dialogue. If you got calls and questions, call in 560-5397 or the pound button 1440 for singular wireless and Sprint PCS. It's 11 minutes before the hour of 6. We'll be right back. You're listening to News Talk 1440 Keys. Stay with us.
But you fooled around and made me the clown.
My guest in the studio, Rudytejano Peña. And Jen, are you on the line? Did I pull you up? Are you there, Jen?
Yeah, I'm right here.
Okay. Jen, you laid a question out there. And say it one more time real quick for the audience.
Well, my question is, as Tejanos, do we have a responsibility to advance individually, or in your opinion, as a person who's thought these things out, Rudytejano Peña, and in your assessment, do we have a responsibility to the group to wait on the entire group? Should we be real concerned about group mentality or individual mentality?
I believe it has to work both ways. We have to support each other, and we have to respect and pick up the leader that's going to lead us, not because of what he is or what he represents as a group, but what he's bringing to the table, his abilities as a speaker, his knowledge of the subject matter, or awareness of the problem or the situation, and that is going to make a better condition or a better situation for the lifestyle or situation, whatever it may be. In politics, in particular, we need to start getting more involved, and for the welfare of everybody, not just in other words, the people that we feel we are.
Yeah, let me read you. On his webpage, it goes down to Tejano history, and he's got the Texas Declaration of Independence, March 2nd, 1836. And he talks about the Santa Ana, heard about the unrest among the Tejanos, and the recently arrived illegal and legal U.S. citizens, the Texians. These are probably Davy Crockett, them guys that came in from Kentucky and all those places where they were heavily in debt. And these were rabble-rousers, people looking for a fight. You call them Texians. And but you mentioned here that Santa Ana was determined to suppress and put down the revolt. And you name while Santa Ana was moving north into Tejas and raising havoc, you name 3 categories: Tejanos, Texians, and some Mexican.
Exactly.
And that's really where the foundation point began, because Tejanos were here, had been here for a long period of time. And the Texians, the new ones that came in, those guys that came in, Travis and all of them, probably including all of them, and then some Mexicans who were here. And so there's a shared history here, but one of the stories is not being told. Is that what I'm hearing?
Absolutely. And it's up to, for instance, Mistrejo now that, and thank you for saying what you're saying. But Mr. Trejo, you're not the only one. The difference here, the difference I hear, and I hope in my heart, is that you will continue and you will write. You will take off and start expressing your views as a Tejana, to get others behind, not me, but the idea and the message. There's a lady called the lady that used to be on a radio show here locally, but it's a Spanish radio program, Alicia Gallegos, and she and I are going to be collaborating on this project. In fact, I spoke to her the other morning, and where she is trying to help me make sure that I bring it's clear to the people that are listening what is the makeup of a Tejano, and we're working on that. Because see, sometimes as you can appreciate, Bob and Mr. Trejo, sometimes we think about things and we have it in our mind. It's formulated good, but it's not what the other person in their mind are getting. So sometimes we have to really spell it out, because whatever we're thinking or whatever we have in our mind is not necessarily, their perception may be not exactly the same, and therefore we have to spell it out.
Now, real quick, Jenny, because we only got about 2 minutes left. Mm-hmm. We're going to do a follow-up on this story in the future, but there's a historical event that requires the participation of Tejanos and Tejanas. So if you are Tejana,
absolutely,
then it's a significant, it's an important historical event. It marks and celebrates the courageous stand of early Tejano pioneers and United Statesians against the Spanish government. Tejanos and Tejanas from all points are encouraged to come. Where? The 192nd anniversary of the bloodiest battle in Texas history, the Battle of Medina. And there's going to be a big event there on August 18th, right, of this coming year?
Yes.
It's a ceremony and all. And look, I'll help you get something together and even talk with the station to get a promo together so that the promo can does the public service announcement. And I want to talk about the importance of the Battle of Medina, but it was a very important one for all future Texans, right?
Exactly. But how many people are aware? Are you aware, Ms. Trejo, of this battle?
No, looking forward to learning some more about it. And before we go, because I'm hearing the music,
right,
I just want to thank you for putting the words down, okay?
Thank
you. Thank you for getting the conversation started.
Muchas gracias. Thank you.
Yeah, because he sure cornered me last week and beat my brains in. And by the time I was done, I got educated. So.
Well, thank you too, Bob, for bringing him on. I really appreciate it.
My
I've
pleasure.
learned a lot today.
Thank you. For Jenny Trejo and Rudytejano Peña, this is Bob Jones at Corpus Christi, Coastal Bend, South Texas. May God continue to bless us all. See you next week.